welcome back to the Mom's View.
Hello.
And Bella Michella is here today. Thanks for joining us. You guys have asked a lot of questions, and we're going to answer some today, and we're going to talk about love. You guys have a lot of love questions. And
so much love.
you guys know about love. So our first question comes from Bubbles02010. How do you know when you're in love? Explain different levels of love and or affection. I've never been in a relationship and never had a crush, or at least that's what I think.
That is very interesting.
That's a big one.
This is such a big one.
I think, to me, the first thing that popped in my head was actions. Like, I feel like you can really know how somebody feels about you with the way they act, sometimes more than words. Because words are so lost these days, and people are like, I like you, but when people go the extra mile for you or they do certain things for you, like a guy opens a door, it's cold outside, so he gets out and what's it called when they scrape? We're in California, not that we need to defrost, but things like, I remember a boyfriend did that for me in high school. He came to my house before school started and scraped my windows for me and left a little note, and that to me was that's a sweet action. Sweet action, dog.
No, that's really true, because people can say things, and sometimes people use, I think, I love you as a crutch, or it's sort of like compensating for something because you can't show it in real ways, so you can say I love you. But, does that really mean it? It's really the actions.
Speak louder than words.
Yes. That's what I was trying to get at.
But like she was saying, I think, she didn't know if she'd ever felt it. But I think if you really did love somebody, you know. You just know. And if you haven't felt it, then that just means that you haven't yet.
But is it lust? Is it infatuation? What makes it love? Because they say there's these cycles of relationship. Have you ever heard about this? Where it's basically, it starts with infatuation. That lasts for 18 months or something, and then then it's there's all these different ones, and then you get bored, or it's all this stuff. There's a cycle of love, and I mean, it starts with infatuation.
That totally makes sense. Yeah.
I think. Oh, sorry.
Go and you go.
You go, girl.
I want to hear what you have to say before I say what I have to say.
Why am I talking? I'm not even in love. I hate the idea, but I think love is. It's I'm just kidding. I know, but everybody's heart is different. And everybody experiences and feels love in different ways, so you can't explain that to somebody. It's how do you feel about your mom or your dad? You know you love them. You have those obvious feelings for them. I know I love Cooper. I know I love you guys. But to everybody, I think if we were all to write our answers down and then read them, they'd all be different. Everybody's heart is different. Everybody's love will be different.
Someone told me before, are we talking about being in love with somebody and loving someone, how it's different?
Oh, yeah.
And he was talking about his grandma, and he's like, I'm in love.
She was laughing.
My grandma. I was like, you can be, you mean you love your grandma? He's like, no, I'm in love with my grandma.
Oh my gosh. Wait, what's happening? really? I don't even know what's happening.
I'm just laughing with him
someone's in love with their grandmother.
What's in your mug today, Mia?
I know.
You're drinking caffeine.
No, but it is true.
Being in love with your grandma sounds funny.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay. It does.
I've talked to Casey about that before, about loving and being in love and it being different, but Casey doesn't believe that.
What? He doesn't believe what?
That there's a difference between loving someone and being in love with someone. He thinks that it's just love. He thinks that love is love, and you love differently.
There's different ways you.
This
right.
is so deep right now.
But I tried to start. I love a lot of people, but I'm only in love with Casey.
Right.
But he doesn't.
I'm only in love with George Clooney.
Doesn't think the
Why?
same.
What's wrong with
That's
that?
interesting.
Yeah.
You should ask him if he's in love with Katilette.
He
would say
doesn't. He
no.
doesn't think there's.
He doesn't think there's
true.
different. Right.
Yeah.
I should ask him if he's in love with his grandma.
No, but when your daughters or your son, so what happens when they come up to you and they're 12, let's say, and say, oh wait, are there 12-year-olds here? Well,
No,
yeah,
not yet.
no, not, okay. Well, it's gonna happen, and say, I am in love with Susie.
I'm sure
What
they
are you gonna
are.
say? What? How do you?
There's so many different forms. You can't tell somebody what they can and can't love.
That's
Right?
all
It's gonna
they
be
know
hard.
at that age.
There's young love and there's mature love.
Yeah.
I think that's a thing. And I think that it can start off, mature love can start off with lust or infatuation or whatever you want to call it. Because I feel like with Shay, our love was built on a strong friendship. And he says that he was in love with me at first sight, and it took me a little bit longer because I had my heart somewhere else, I'd just gotten out of a relationship. I wasn't looking for it. I didn't, and he was ready for it. Yeah. I wasn't ready. But it started out as a friendship, and then then it started out, okay, I'm infatuated, I really like him. And then, you know, now we're 9 years into our marriage, and I feel like we've grown so much. Like, there has been different phases of love to where, you know, I'm gonna get emotional again. I don't want to do that. But it was to me, it was a choice. You know, it was a choice to let myself fall in love with him because of the amazing person that he is. And I feel like you can choose to love somebody even if they're not right for you. Like, if you get into a relationship and you're like, I'm so in love with this person, it's because you loved so much about them in the beginning, and then you just
have
kept
to choose
choosing.
Every day.
Yeah, you
to
have
remember that.
to
kinda,
keep choosing.
Yeah.
And I think that's how, you know, marriages can fall apart, is when you stop working on it, or, you know, stop choosing to do it. And I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes
insight.
a lot of
Does that make
sense. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Because I think it is something you have to, you have to choose it every day, and you have to put the work in, and you have to, when somebody, you know, annoys you or upsets you, you have to be able to open your heart again to the love, and remember what you love about them, and, you know, because it's sort of, the infatuation in that part in the beginning it's going to wear off. I mean, if you're going to have a 50, 60-year relationship with someone. What do they call
it, the honeymoon phase?
Yeah, it's going to wear off, and you have to, it's got to be built on something else. And I think respect is a big part. You know, all the relationships I've had, usually they start ending because you just don't have that same respect for the person, I think.
I think once respect is lost, too, I think there's boundaries that you need to maintain. Like, even when you are married, people think that you can drop all boundaries, you're married, but you always need to, like, keep your personal boundaries, like what's okay with you and what's not okay. And I think that's a big thing that went wrong in my marriage, is I let all my boundaries down, but and so to him it was okay that things were going like that, but I should have been like, I'm not okay with this, I'm not comfortable with this, you're crossing my personal boundaries. And respect was, like, my respect levels, I dropped them, and he crossed that line. It was hard, and I didn't feel like we could build that respect up again. And especially as a woman, like, who forgives and forgets? Like, women were the worst, you know, like, we have our little checklist. Yeah. But, like, guys fight physically, and they're like, okay, bro, we're cool. But girls are like, I'm never talking to her for 7 more years.
I think you should keep your integrity. In
Yeah.
a relationship is what you believe is right and wrong, and just stick to those things.
Yeah.
And you have to love yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's really interesting to hear you guys say that you made the choice to love them, because I don't know if I was so young when I started dating Casey, but it was never a choice. I loved him. And I feel that way now. I don't feel like it's a choice for me whether or not every day I love him. I can't help but love him. So.
No, and I mean, I mean, Danny, who is my boyfriend, you know, I felt the same. The second I met him, I just felt like I was in love with him. That was, I felt the same thing. It was one of those things. And I think more just choosing, your mind is strong, and you can choose to sort of get mad at something or let it overtake you, you know, or you can be more balanced and choose to be like, well, you know, and I think that doesn't mean if something's really wrong in a relationship, you have to follow that. But I think, not that I'm choosing to be in love with him. It's not quite. It's hard to explain.
What you guys
it's
are
just,
saying.
You know what
but
I'm saying.
like, I've never like felt like I had that moment where I was like trying to decide. I feel like he did, but there was something about him to me that I was just like, I can't help but love you, even through bad times, because we were so young. There were a lot of bad times, and I couldn't help but love him. I loved him.
That's so interesting, because I've never felt that way. I've never
that's why
felt
love is
like
so different to everybody.
it's so different. I've never like seen a guy or had a crush and been like, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with this guy. Like, I remember in high school, my friends always being like, oh my gosh, I love him, you know, and I'm just like, I never did. Like, I had different boyfriends and stuff, but it always was a cycle of, okay,
Right.
now I feel this way, you know. I was never like, never hit me hard, ever. That's so interesting.
So does that come down to, like,
So interesting.
thoughts versus feelings, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I think you, like, think things out, you're a thinker. And
I'm very much like,
instead of just
Are
going
you also guarded? Are you
I'm-
more like a...
I think so. I think so, because it did take, you know, I had to break down barriers
Break it down.
before I was totally like letting my heart go.
Yeah.
There was trust.
know.
Like, you had a lot of trust.
Right.
That's
I
so
don't
interesting.
know.
No, I had never.
That's
really
funny
had
that
it,
I'm just
yeah.
like really. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
this is breakthrough right here.
No, I never had that either until I met Danny. But it was like kind of like how you're talking about. I mean, he was just at a party, and I was like, I love him. I mean, I don't even know we spoke. He was like, hey, I was like, oh my gosh, amazing. You know, sometimes it just happens. But yeah, I know what you mean though. I'd never had that before.
Really?
You know, I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
That's so interesting.
I wish that you could choose not to love somebody, because I feel the same. Like, I loved my ex. And I knew it was bad, and I was like, I want to choose not to feel this way, but I couldn't control that. It was just like this overwhelming, like, I knew I loved him.
Mm-hmm.
So with me, I felt both. When I was younger, I was like totally la la land for sure. But once I had Olivia, it kind of changed how I look at relationships. So now, like with me, I am a lot more guarded, because I have to think, you know, as you know, we all have to think like who is this person? We have to kind of do a lot more background check before we actually can fall deep for this person. So I've actually felt both. I like the, you know, the like, I like feeling like that, the butterflies, but then now it's just like, I mean, I might get them maybe if I meet somebody, but, you know, who knows?
There's so much more that goes into it before you're going to let yourself. Right. What you were talking about, too, it's interesting. My parents have been married 40 years. They have the best relationship. But it's a similar story. My dad, you know, saw my mom and was like, I'm in love with her. And my mom was just like, I don't know about you. You know, it took this thing, you know, and he took this, you know, him courting her a lot, you know, and really being, you know, and then she was like, oh, you know, and then she just fell in love with him, and it's in a perfect sort of 40 years.
It's so interesting to me. I don't know why I feel like this is like, oh my gosh, I'm just realizing this, because I always felt bad about that. I always felt like, how come he like knew that he loved me the first like second he saw me, and it took me a while. Like, I feel guilty. Is that weird?
No.
It's
because you're super more awesome than he is.
That's not true.
And I just love you.
I think almost, it seems like in every relationship there's someone who kind of has more compassion or is drawn to the other person. Because it kind of takes that. It takes one person to be like giving and wanting, and then that other person is eventually maybe going to start giving and wanting back.
It's like the animal kingdom.
Maybe.
I mean, like
do
birds.
Do you believe that like one person can love somebody and the other person? Because I feel like I've dated people and they just like I know I love you, and I'm like,
how do you be on such two different
I don't.
levels?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't. Can that really happen? Because there's been times where like I've dated great guys and I'm just and they're like ready to take it. And I'm just like, I do not feel that way. How do you feel? How do you feel like we are so close right now? Like,
it's on a different page.
Well, it can be different for them.
Maybe different times in your life, like if they're wanting and searching for love, where it's like I never really felt like I was searching for love. Like I don't know.
That's why you found it. That's what everyone keeps saying. Stop looking, and then you're going to find the right one.
But that is normal. I mean, if you look at nature, that's how, birds. It's the male birds that have all the beautiful feathers and they're like gorgeous, and the woman's just like plain usually, and they come and they flap around and they show them how awesome they are, and then over time they choose one. You know, that is sort of how it works. They know that. We have the goods.
Yeah.
My mom has told me that she saw on Oprah. Every time I think of Oprah, I think of you. But she said that someone was on and they were talking about how they made their marriage work for so long, and it was a really old couple, and they said we never fell out of love at the same time.
I saw that.
Oh, and yeah.
I saw that. I think it's okay to love each other, and I might love Casey more than he loves me at one time, but as long as it all balances
if it's
out.
at the same time.
That's right.
And you're safe.
I heard somebody told me this when I was going through my divorce, and I was like, it was such a quote that stuck to me. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Should we take another question?
Yeah.
All right. This comes from Cheer Star JG.
Yay, cheer.
Yay. Talk about first crushes and boyfriends. Do you remember your first ever crush? Were you 5, 10,
I just was
20?
boy crazy all the time. Everybody. Do you feel like you could choose who you had crushes on in high school, though? I feel like I'm like, yeah, he's cool.
I think I like him.
Like, convince yourself.
Yeah. Do the note swapping? Did you guys note swap?
Geez.
Yeah.
My first crush ever was a boy named Jeff Hess.
Jeff Hess.
When I was in first grade, and we would play kissing tag, and I liked him all through grade school.
Kissing tag.
Yeah, kissing tag, and I think he's so great. But I had Barbies, and I had a Barbie named Kayli and a Barbie named Jeff. And that was my first crush ever.
That's
cute.
I had a high school sweetheart from, I think I was 13 to 15. His name is Benoit. And I was in love with him. Like, first time I saw him, I was like, who's that? And it was on and off, and I remember writing in my journal, and it was just like, pages and pages and pages. That's all I talked about. But then I would talk about all these other boys too, but he was like the main one. And it's interesting because a crush is so, I feel like it is like puppy love, you know, because you don't think about a future necessarily with them. You don't think about things we think about as adults today. So it was just kind of like a day by day type thing that was so passionate. I loved him. I was like, I thought I was gonna have his babies. We're still friends on Facebook.
Are you really? Where's this guy now?
No, he's got a. No.
You're like, no, it's not there anymore.
It's not there.
No.
How about you? Do you remember your first?
It's actually really sad. I didn't want to bring it up because it's so heavy, but I had a high school sweetheart just like you. But in the midst of like us being together, he actually died. And it's like, yeah, it was really sad. And I think even now, like, I feel like crying because it's like I'm not really over it, but I am because he's such a good person. Like, that was the sad part, I think. So, like, sorry.
It's okay.
This is a cry comfortable couch.
Yes.
I'll cry on this couch.
We've definitely done that a lot.
It was a really sad situation, but I didn't want to talk about it, but I mean, now, you know.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, how he died was really sad, and we were together, and it was just like, I don't know. It was just something I would not want, like, my daughter experience, and it's just like, it's probably one of the saddest things I've ever had to experience in high school and just in that, you know, in general.
How old are you?
I was 16.
Wow. See, that's amazing because that's like a pivotal time when you're like feeling all those feelings.
Yeah.
Oh,
And like you, like
crazy.
I felt like I was totally in love, and I saw like more future stuff, and we were both kind of like a young love like you, and if you felt like that for Casey, but then all of a sudden, you know, this happened, it was just like heartbreaking.
How long were you with him?
Probably like 6 months, 7 months, but you know, you just know, and then you know, it just, I think it was just, I think somebody dying young, I think that is what, you know, hurt. And I think for like that year, for a whole year, I was like depressed. Like my parents could even get me out of it. But, you know, it's just, I think you can experience it, you know, being that young, like young love, you still, you know, you really can, like, really love somebody like that, you know. But sorry, you guys.
No, thank you for sharing that.
So do you feel like that's changed or had an impact, I guess I want to say, on the way you love now, or?
Yeah, I think, you know, it makes me feel like more guarded for sure, because things like this can happen. You don't think it will, but when it does, you're like, hold
you also
on.
don't want to live in fear either.
Right.
So it's hard.
Do you think you're able to open your heart to that kind of love again, or it's still?
Yeah, totally. I think so. But it was for a long time. It took me a long time to get over it. So it's just like, I know I can, but, you know, I mean, we always think like this, you know, like, you don't want to think the worst, but that's just the kind of person I am. I always think the worst, so it's just like, I think it's just been a lot harder for me in a sense of that, going through that at a young age. And just, that's the time when you're, like, thinking about love and you're learning all the new things that, you know, love can bring, and that happens.
It's so awful. That's hard because you didn't really get closure either. It was just, like you said, like,
Sudden. Sudden.
Yeah.
I think if I could give advice to any of the viewers about love, and it's like I need to hear it too, but I think I compare it, because I haven't been in a relationship since before I was married. Like, my last relationship was my marriage, and then before then I was 18, so it's been a long time. But I think the hardest thing for me is I compare how my feelings for my ex-husband, how they were, to, like, what I should be feeling now, and I think that's really wrong. Like, it's like, that's bad water to tread, because love is so different, and I think with anybody you meet, you form different bonds and you create a different love. And I keep waiting to feel that with somebody, but deeper and more intense with somebody. And so there's like all these good guys that I've been meeting, but it's like, but I don't feel that way with him. Why don't I? I did with him, and it's not better. Why isn't it getting like that? And I think that it's good to remember the good from a past relationship, or maybe like a heartbreak, but it's important to move on and find a new love.
And not compare.
And it might happen in a different way.
Yeah, because it's like budding. It like goes nowhere, and then I end up feeling like, well, he's not the one, you know, or he's not the next one.
I think people connect on different levels.
Yeah.
You might fall in love with one because of this, or somebody else.
Yeah, but I keep thinking, oh, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same, so it's not right. But I think that's...
And it might just be you're not ready yet, too. That might be your body and your mind's way of being
totally,
like, you're not ready. You know, and then when you are, it'll come, you know.
When you're not looking.
When you're not looking. That's usually...
Okay, I'm officially not looking. I'm just going to put that out there. I'm not looking.
Watch Bachelorette next week.
Could be coming. Oh, yeah. Bachelorette, what? Crazy. Why did I do that? Guess what next show's going to be? I'm putting you guys up for the Bachelorette.
Oh, I'm excited.
Oh, that would be amazing.
He's like,
That's a great idea.
Well, thank you so much for being here. That was amazing.
I can't believe it's
Thank
ended
you.
already.
I know. And thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
You have to come back.
Yes.
We have to talk more. So.
I will.
Yes.
Well, don't forget to go to our Facebook page and look for our giveaway. We have a very good giveaway on Facebook. And our Twitter, and subscribe to Michelle. And we will see you next week.
Yes. Thank you.